All right. So basically, as far as the show goes,
Yes.
pretty much prepped.
You already have, like, I saw, I refrained from listening to the X Factor stuff with your favorite games.
And who can blame you, really? I mean,
This is Epic Battle Cry Skirmish 219. His name is wearing sunglasses.
Hello and welcome to Epic Battle Cry. This is the place where we cut through the crap to bring you the real deal on the gaming industry today.
last time this year.
Well, last year.
Oh, damn it! You're right. We're gonna cross that that threshold before it comes out, doesn't it?
That's right. That's right.
I'm your host, Tony Grice, and with me, as always, is Brent Adams and Daniel Kaiser, although Daniel, he may not be here because, you know, tomorrow is, you know what's happening in Colorado. So he decided to skip out on tonight's... No, I'm just kidding. Guys, how y'all doing? Brent, how you doing this week, man?
What's up? My freebies of fatality! My favorites of fury! How art thou?
Nice.
Nice. Lots of freebies to talk about and lots of favorite things to talk about this week. That's a very effed up intro, which they usually are.
Yes, but this one in an entirely different way. I mean, this is a fistful of alliteration. You got to admit.
We made a discovery too that Fury, or what was it? No, Furious was not on your list of intros.
That's right. Like I've got a master list. I've got a master list of words that I can pull from. And I've actually, I keep meaning to actually just like sort of release an app that's sort of like Brent's thesaurus of openings and all the combinations of things that
Apple keeps flagging it for inappropriateness just because it's so evil.
True enough.
Basically,
and that's a big milestone here. For the end of 2013, a new word went into the master intro list. So
there you go.
Yeah. Very good. All right. DK, how about yourself, man? How you doing?
I'm doing great, TG, in 3D. A whole new year. I'm a little disappointed that Santa didn't bring me what I asked for in the last episode of EBC.
A new syringe?
No, you may or may not recall it was a bag of weed. But that's okay.
That's right. I do remember that
completely fine
now.
because the new year...
Just chill out, man. He's coming.
Chinese New Year.
He just hadn't made it there yet.
Is officially upon us. So that means that, of course, legalization of marijuana here in the state of Colorado is in effect. Which means I actually feel the full brunt of the responsibility to start a gaming convention here in the state. Of course, I'll call it High Score.
Nice.
But,
nice.
That's good.
Yeah. If anybody wants in on that, just tweet me. Let me know. Let's make it happen. Gaming goes green, baby.
I smell a Kickstarter and something else burning.
That's not Kickstarter.
All right, guys. Well, we've got plenty to go over this week, so let's go ahead and run through the gauntlet. All right, guys. Well, we are here in this year-end up wrap-up gauntlet, and we've got our first story here is a little bit of a teaser, kind of getting you ready for what you'll be able to play early next year. DK, what did the PlayStation Store kind of leak out about PlayStation Plus membership coming
Well, by the time they hear this, it will be next year, and so it's already January, and the titles coming to PlayStation Store via PlayStation Plus are rather impressive. This leaked initially because they're experimenting with doing a new video pertaining to the Plus membership, which is getting more and more positive for Sony. But this month's freebies include Devil May Cry, DMC Devil May Cry, Brothers: A Tale of Two Sons, which we'll talk about later, and BioShock Infinite, not even a year old, and the game's free for PS Plus members. The PS4 gets Don't Starve from Clay Entertainment, and then Smart As and Worms Battle Islands for the PSP and PS Vita, respectively. That's a lot of gameage for your PS Plus membership, which is what, like $50 a year. And I think Sony is really knocking it out of the park with this, particularly being able to have that headline of BioShock Infinite as a freebie in January. What do you guys think of the way Sony has been handling its PlayStation Plus membership accounts, and what is it doing for the industry as a whole?
I can say for me, as somebody who just recently got PlayStation Plus, just prior to getting, or actually when I got my my PlayStation 4, I I was aware of what they had been doing with, you know, their freebies, that I think, you know, their kind of instant game collection, I think they call it. And I thought, yeah, that's a really cool idea, but you don't really understand what a great thing that is until you get like a PlayStation 4 and, oh, there's 2 games you can go get right now that are free. Or when I got my PlayStation Vita and there's a host of like good games like Uncharted and stuff that I can go get for free and start playing. So I think it's a fantastic value add. It's a great idea. And the fact is that this is not, I mean, BioShock Infinite, although I don't particularly like the game, it's a high enough caliber game and a popular enough title that this is a huge value add for anybody. But this is not like the first time Sony's given us some really good titles on PlayStation Plus, and so I think that what they've been doing with it has really built confidence in the service. The fact that it is required for online play now with the PlayStation 4 is really not that big a deal for me, because they spent, you know, a year plus selling me on a service that was going to really give me something back for my money every year, and you know, this is just more evidence of the same.
Yeah, I think the whole transition in making, you know, the online requirement to you had to have a PlayStation Plus membership, it kind of had that value add in a sense of, I think, making people, you know, in a way forcing their hand a little bit, that they now have to have that PlayStation Plus membership if they want to play online. So a lot of people that, you know, just wouldn't have done it before now kind of forced to do it, and in a way now sort of see the other value that they get out of it. Sure. Because I'm the same way. I'm with Brent. Like, I had never been well, I think I had that like free one month membership, you know, a long time ago when they had that issue with their you know, with the data issue or whatever. But like just recently, and I've been using it a lot. I mean, you had like last month we had Borderlands 2 was free on the on PS3. You had Resogun and Contrast, like right when the PS4 comes out, as freebies. Yeah. You know, for the system. It's one of those things where I think kind of making that requirement to get people online and sort of forcing their hand a little bit to buy it was probably a good thing. Like I think in the long run they're going to find more people who are going to enjoy the service and like it for more and more reasons other than just the thing that they might have gotten it for originally, which was the online play.
To me, it's really a no-brainer. I mean, anyone,
which
and what
works
they're doing,
well, considering how much pot you're going to be consuming in the very near future. I mean, you got to admit, this is.
I need easy decisions.
Well, and I agree with where you're going with that, DK, too, because like you think of you look at say like BioShock Infinite. I think that's another game where, like, you know, it's a high caliber game, a AAA title. But it also, I don't necessarily know that it got maybe the kind of attention that a lot of people, you know, so it's a great game that I think would get people that are like, you know, I might not have bought that at $60.
Right. There
but
is
now
an
that it's
audience,
free,
I think, that will play
I will download it and maybe buy the DLC for it later.
Sure,
you know?
yeah.
Just promise me you'll play Brothers.
I'm going
if you
to.
haven't already.
Yeah, I'm going to.
Nah, I'm not going to. Okay.
I'm going. I've got your back, DK. I'm going
Thank
to.
you. All right.
Listen, can I get a bag from you, or?
So next up on the other side of things, on the Xbox, is also with their Games with Gold membership, which is sort of their kind of
their freebie program.
Exactly, they're sort of a follow up, trying to kind of do what Sony's been doing. Have announced the 2 titles that you'll get to play this month. Brent, what are those going to be?
Those are going to be 2 titles from Square Enix, and they're both fantastic. The first is Sleeping Dogs, and then the other is Lara Croft and the Guardian of Light. Starting on January 1st, 2014, Xbox 360 Gold members are going to be able to pick up Sleeping Dogs. I read here that's normally $20, and then in the second half of the month, running from January 16th to the 31st, you'll be able to get Lara Croft and the Guardian of Light for free. Yeah. That's normally $15. I've played both. They're fantastic titles, both of them, and I think it's awesome for Xbox owners. Yeah. But also, I think that this is a great thing. You know, where competition with Sony
absolutely
has kind of forced Microsoft into having to answer that service, and that works out great for us gamers. And that's the thing, you know, Microsoft's been doing Xbox Live Gold years and years and years. Not to say that there wasn't value to the service, not to say that that you weren't getting something for your money, but you're getting even more now with this games for Gold program. So I think that's fantastic.
Yes, these games, yes, absolutely. I'll be downloading. I missed Sleeping Dogs the first time around, so I'll definitely be checking it out. I mean, why not? And Guardian of Light is something I'm looking forward to playing as well. So for free, absolutely. Like you said, their hand has been kind of forced into this, and this is why competition is so good in the marketplace, because, you know, we probably could assume that Microsoft wouldn't be doing this type of stuff had Sony not, come up with what they've been doing on the PS Plus side. But now with the caliber of games, we, the consumer, are the ones that are winning. I do think Microsoft needs to step it up even more, though, because, Sony's putting out, what was that, 5 or 6 games, and they're, even bigger titles than what they have here. And I think I still sense a little bit of Microsoft's reluctancy to kind of like really dive in and give some great things. And the other thing, too, that Sony is doing, even though it's a smaller game, a good game, Don't Starve, but they're putting something on their new platform. We're still waiting.
They've got some on every platform they've got out, basically.
Exactly. We're still waiting until 2014 until Microsoft initiates the Games with Gold program for the Xbox One. And for me, people that just got a brand new PlayStation 4 and in a couple of days or whatever it is, they could download BioShock 4, BioShock Infinite for free. I mean, that's amazing. So that's what, well, actually, I'm sorry, BioShock Infinite isn't on PlayStation 4, but they have something they could download on PlayStation 4 with their other stuff, and then also they're addressing all their platforms, is what I'm saying. So
exactly, that's why you're exactly right. Like, they have all their platforms. If you've got a PlayStation Plus membership, you've got something to enjoy, all the way back to the PSP. I mean, they've got they really are covering their bases now. I mean, Microsoft doesn't have that many multiple platforms other than their current gen system, the Xbox One, that's not necessarily being represented just yet. I think they'll definitely do it. I do 100% agree with you, though, that I feel that there is that slight reluctance. Like, I'm not, like, the titles they've been bringing out, frankly, have been good. Like, I mean, they've released some of their absolute AAA title games, but they have typically been a little older, like a little bit earlier in the catalog and things like that, as a general rule. Right. Although still great games, and I don't really knock them for that.
Sure.
There's a couple of things I do agree with you. I think they should bring out maybe a few extras, some of the smaller games. You see PlayStation Plus drops, one big AAA title, and then a couple of like the smaller $10, $15, $20 type of titles, which I just like. It kind of gets people that maybe wouldn't have given some of those a shot. They try them, and if they really like them, there's usually DLC out there to buy them. A lot of times, I will buy a game. Like, I'll be honest, I bought Resogun even though it was free because I love the game so much. I knew exactly. I wanted to support the company. Yeah. But the other thing I think that PlayStation Plus still does have a little bit of an edge on them is the discounts that they give.
Yeah.
I just recently over the holidays picked up a ton of stuff on all kinds of different platforms, but especially on the Sony platforms, because almost every one of them had anywhere from like a 50 to 75% discount on them over the holidays if you had a PlayStation Plus discount or a membership. Right. If they had that same thing on Xbox, there's been a ton of stuff I would have picked up if I could have got for 50 to 75% off, And
that's what I think I'm saying. Like, it feels like, and not bashing it, but it feels like Microsoft's doing what they need to do, whereas Sony's going above and beyond.
The bare minimum. They're kind of doing the bare minimum to sort of say, like, hey, we've got the same sort of thing. But hey, I think the good thing, though, is Sony has been doing this for a while. Microsoft really only recently kind of started that earlier this year. Yeah. I think they're coming along. I think it's going to get better and better as time goes on. Well, so something else that might eventually come out as time goes on is Devil's Third. Itagaki, the guy behind Dead or Alive, his next project is coming out hopefully sometime this coming year. DK, you want to tell us a little bit about it?
Okay, so Devil's Third, as you mentioned, Tomonobu Itagaki, who's kind of batshit crazy, but also pretty cool. He, as you may recall, obviously, you mentioned that he was, the Ninja Gaiden and Dead or Alive series, has left Tecmo back in 2008 and has been working on his game Devil's Third. Well, recently we found out that the game is about 80% complete, according to an interview that he did not too long ago. And he also said that it is on track to come out in the calendar year ahead. It's going to be releasing for PlayStation 3, Xbox 360, and PC. And this is more of like a third-person action game. It's got his kind of crazy style, and it seems very, very up-tempo in terms of the action. I guess that's the way to describe it. But there's some intriguing characters and some intriguing set pieces that we've seen in the media thus far. Do you guys feel that this game has a chance to stand out from the crowd? And what have you thought about it since it's been announced? Is this on your radar at all? Or because of, I think very few people in our industry have the pedigree to be able to say, well, this game comes from XYZ, so despite what the game looks like or despite what we know about the game thus far, a lot of people are going to be interested in it just because it comes from this person.
Yeah.
Itagaki has somewhat of that clout. What do you guys think about this whole scenario with Devil's Third?
You know, personally, I don't have like a real horse in the race as far as like any kind of huge investment regarding him or like the previous games that he's done. Dead or Alive, fine. Ninja Gaiden, fine. But like neither of those like game series are something like I'm hugely into. So for me, this is just going to be like I'm just going to evaluate this as if it were any other game, and any kind of like baggage or whatever that comes from from his reputation or the previous games that he's done. You're probably not like a huge factor to me. I mean, just like looking at the like the trailer that we're that we're running or that we've been running right now. I mean. I'll just wait and see media for the game and figure out how I feel about it then. But yeah, I mean, I got to say for me personally, the fact that it's got Itagaki's name, like above the title or whatever, that doesn't really sway me one way or the other.
Yeah, and his name is wearing sunglasses. Actually,
you damn right it is.
That's the actual translation of Itagaki. It is man who wears sunglasses constantly. I do actually, just a real quick aside. I remember when we were at E3 a couple years back. I remember Brent. I think you and I were walking back to the car,
right past him,
and we walk right by him. But he's in the middle of like 10 guys like around him, like like security and everything.
He's got like impenetrable private security around him.
It was awesome. I'm actually a pretty big Itagaki fan. Like I really enjoy the Dead or Alive and the Ninja Gaiden reboot kind of franchise. And also I've just the whole like when he was with Team Ninja, that was his older team that he was with and ran for many years. I love their polish to their games. Like I don't know what it was, but there was something about like the games they looked really slick. They had a really cool style to them. I will say, like, Devil's Third to me, I haven't seen enough of it yet to really just get like super excited about it just yet, but I kind of like the idea of someone who has that little bit of extra flair to their to what they do. And I'm not really seeing it yet in what I've seen so far. So I'm kind of hoping that like once get a little bit closer to the time the game comes out, we start to see a little bit more of that. But I'm actually I'm more likely to play this game because it has his name attached to it. So it's sort of different strokes for different folks.
Yeah. Well, and I'll just say that instead of a third, I think the game would have gone over better here in Colorado if it was Devil's Ounce. But I'm just saying.
Is this we're just gonna do pod jokes like through the whole
single
okay
story.
Listen,
make sure we're all
we're just gonna change it over to a podcast and
oh Jesus,
a pun from Brent Adams, everyone. Happy New Year.
Wow,
I guess that was kind of a pun, wasn't it? Now I feel dirty.
All right, well, so last but not least, you should have let me
enjoy it in my naivete.
Last but not least, we have a new project coming from the guy behind titles such as Devil May Cry and Beautiful Joe and some pretty big titles from the past generations. Yep. Brent, you want to kind of take us through what we've got here, what we're looking at for next year?
Yeah, we sort of have this update on what Hideki Kamiya has going in 2014. Of course, he's, as you said, Devil May Cry, Vengeful Joe, Okami, Bayonetta. As we were just kind of talking about with Itagaki, I mean, certainly, this is a name that's been attached to some big games. But anyway, so I've got a quote here that just kind of sets in place what we might be seeing. So here we go. There's a lot I hold dear in making games, but I think for developers, having fun is most important. The atmosphere of the workplace shows clearly in a game's quality, so I want to treasure a team atmosphere where each member can have fun developing
work for
games.
Activision.
Obviously. Also, 2014 will be the year where a new project will fully be set in motion. I want to boldly and happily walk that path without fear of failure.
Nice.
So, I don't know. I mean, I don't know what that means. I don't know. What that will end up looking like. But certainly, I think we'll.
Well, what does that mean? Maybe more probably. I mean, it kind of looks as though he's definitely going to be going in a new direction, I guess.
Well, at least have a new project. I mean, his associations have been wonderfully creative games, some darker than others, but I think that if you look back on the things he's been associated with, everything from, the original Devil May Cry was like really helped, initiate a spin on a genre that has thus been very successful. Beautiful Joe, Okami, Bayonetta, all great games, and the Wonderful 101, something unique on the platform of the Wii U. So I think that I'm excited. I mean, this is someone who deserves the attention based on his past work, and I'm looking forward to see. Now, when he says set in motion, I don't know if that means like an announcement for the public or if like he's just going to actually start getting something underway, and it might be 2015 before we hear about it, but more power to him, especially with a quote like that. I mean, anyone who's coming into an approach saying it's about making something fun that's not only fun to play but fun to develop, and he's trying to make everyone around him better, I more power to him, man. I think that's great. I think it's beautiful.
Don't you think that this is almost a little bit of maybe like you see something like, say, something like Mighty Number 9, like a title where it's coming from Keiji Inafune, the guy who's pretty much universally known for Mega Man. Sort of, I think his whole career trying to get back to the point of making like the game that he really loved making, and just wasn't really getting that support. So he goes to Kickstarter, and it just blows up. I kind of think more and more people, especially people with like the creative flair, like Hideki is kind of like because you look at all of his games like Okami, like all the games that he has have these beautiful graphics, very cool style. Again, a very kind of similar to Itagaki we were just talking about. Like has that kind of style and flair, at least with kind of.
Except he puts his sunglasses on his head.
He does. That is true. See, that's
we have
photographic
evidence of that.
So I'm looking forward to see what he ends up working on. All right, guys. Well, we are here in the main topic, which this week, of course, being the year-end special 2013. We wanted to take a look back at some of our favorite games from this past year, and to do that, we actually wanted to look at them through a new prism, look at them through a new way. So, DK, can you kind of take us through what we're going to use to kind of put together some of these titles?
Yes, absolutely. It's the end of the year, so everyone comes up with their favorite games of the year, their most anticipated games, and we are actually going to be doing that. Probably we'll have some interactions on a weekly basis with a new platform that I've been creating and working with you guys on and getting your recommendations and everything in on, called Faves List. Faves List is a brand new social media platform that basically takes all the ideas of things like Twitter and Facebook, but actually puts a purpose to them and makes things really cool. So we've already had a bunch of interaction. The platform's still kind of in beta, getting ready for some big things in early 2014. But in a nutshell, it's a place where you could rank your favorite games, rank your favorite movies, books, television shows, actors, whatever, and also just discuss all of those things with your friends and let them see a little bit more into your kind of social DNA, the things that we talk about all the time, while also giving you a chance to kind of track things and get updates on your favorite games and whatnot. So we've compiled our list of favorite games of 2013 as well as most anticipated. So let's start with you, Mr. Brent Adams.
Yes.
In terms of your favorite games of 2013, what is on top of your faves list? And I should also mention that we're going to be talking about the most anticipated stuff and on a weekly basis bringing into the fray kind of some of the conversation points. So you guys going over there to Faves List and making your adjustments to favorite games or most anticipated or whatever category, we'll be using that as a backbone to kind of draw conversation points for the show moving forward. So anyway, sorry to interrupt you there, Brent. What were your favorite
No, you're not. Stop lying.
games of 2013?
All right, man. So starting at the number 5 position for my favorite games of 2013, got to go to Beyond Two Souls from Quantic Dream and David Cage. This is a game that I think is like very polarizing. It's one of those titles that either if you're into what the game is about and you can kind of get past the non-traditional control scheme, there really is something interesting to be had here. A lot of people criticize this for not being much of a game and being almost more of like an interactive movie or something like that. And I think those criticisms are valid. Certainly you're not going to be doing as much with the controller as you would in a first person shooter or whatever. All very true. But the core of what the game experience provides, the dramatic and emotional journey that the game takes you on, and the quality of the writing overall is good enough that I really, for me personally, and for the reasons that I game, which the reason I game is for story and immersion and drama and the unique flavor of those things that gaming brings. Beyond Two Souls is a great game for me, and it's one of those titles that I went into, you know, kind of having an idea what to expect, but what I did not expect is how strongly I would react to the characters and the story of the game. The performances from Willem Dafoe and from Ellen Page, as well as the other supporting cast, is phenomenal. And you know, my biggest complaint with the game is that, like, the concept is so good and the writing doesn't quite like live up to its possibilities all the way through. But that's my number 5 game for the year. Really, really fantastic title. All
right, awesome. Yeah, I you know, I have to admit I haven't picked that up yet, but I would like to try it. I do think it looks very, very interesting. The number 5 on my list, I would have to say, is probably a fairly, you know, my list has definitely kind of got a certain sort of old school kind of, I think, vibe to it in terms of some of the titles that I picked. But this one is one that I've been playing quite a bit. I know DK's been playing it, but is Legend of Zelda: A Link Between Worlds. I love the game. It's visually, I love the style of it. I love that it's kind of modern day version of kind of the older style graphics. The gameplay in it is awesome because it's mixed with that totally old school gameplay that if you played anything 20 years ago, you can jump right in and start playing it and not be lost. But yet there are elements of it that would kind of give you sort of this new experience, like the forming to the wall when you're the painting to kind of move around and whatnot. Like I love what they've done. And it's just a really, really cool world, cool story. Just overall, great game. I'm sure it's probably on somebody else's list at this point too. But DK, what's your number 5?
This year was odd for me because there's so much great stuff, but like I didn't get to play a lot of like the really ones that are kind of unanimous decisions for like Game of the Year candidates. I played a good amount, but not all of them. So some of those are left off. But in my number 5 spot for me on my favorite games of 2013 is BioShock Infinite. I know that comes as a huge surprise for a lot of people, but when I look in the game in retrospect, I didn't love the story. I thought it was overhyped, but I did have fun with it, and I think I'd be robbing it of the fun factor that I did have with it if I didn't actually, you know, assess it properly and look back on. When I think back on the year, I always think of, okay, well, which experiences stand out to me? Part of, you know, this being in the 5 spot was like there was so much anticipation for it. What did it do? It really fell flat for me, like we talked about at length regarding the story, but I did really like the gunplay. I liked the gameplay in general, and thought it was a fun core game there. So that's my number 5, even though there's probably several others that if I would have played them would have easily taken that spot, and I'm just being honest, that, you know, the ones that I kind of mess around with, I just didn't feel right actually ranking something I didn't complete. So that's the number 5 spot for me, BioShock Infinite. Okay, so let's go back around. Brent, what about you? What's your number 4 game of the year?
My number 4 game of 2013 is actually a game from 2012, but I didn't play it until 2013, so suck it. But that would be Torchlight 2.
Rebel.
That's right.
Torchlight 2, nice.
Torchlight 2 came out in, I guess it was late 2012, but in any case, I didn't play it until this year. I played it earlier in the year with my friend Grant. I think both of you guys know Grant, don't you?
Yeah.
So anyway, Grant lives out in Oregon now, and so we since we don't get to hang out anymore,
there's nothing to do in Oregon.
And there's nothing to, well, I mean, you say that, but
there's a lot to do.
A lot to do in Portland. But anyway, since we don't get to hang out anymore, like we try to hang out each week and play some video games. This has become, you know, like a routine that we've gotten into over the last year, and it's been really cool. But one of the first games we played was Lara Croft and the Guardian of Light that we were talking about earlier. And after we finished that, we got into Torchlight 2. And man, we played Torchlight 2 for months. I mean, months and months and months and months. And we ate it up. Like that's become kind of like the standard by which all other games are measured for us. We had such a great time playing it, and it's a great game. I mean, it's a fantastic title. You know, if you play the first Torchlight, there's so much to it to like. But there is that element of like, this would be really great with friends, and Torchlight 2 delivers on that experience and then some. All of the you know, the great game mechanics, all of the fun and everything that the first game has, but you know, in this fantastic co-op experience. And I think that you know, the question that's on my mind, and I think a lot of people's mind, is just, you know, what's coming down the pipe next. I mean, certainly we know that the roots of these games was an idea for an MMO, and it seems like they've gained enough traction and enough popularity that that we could actually see a Torchlight MMO happen. And I'd be all about it. I'd be all about it.
Yeah, that'd be pretty awesome
if it was actually realized. So we wait in anticipation for that. But anyway, like I said, it's a bit of a cheat, but yeah, Torchlight 2, man, that's a fantastic game.
No, that's it's not a bit of a cheat. I mean, like you say, that's what you played this year, and you know, that's the thing. There's been so many great games over the last couple of years that sometimes you don't get around to some of the better games you played until a good deal later. I will admit, most of my list comes from late in the year. It's just you know, early in the year, to be frank, just not a lot of titles I was as interested in, and also, to be brutally honest, for personal issues, I've got a lot more time lately, so I've been playing a lot more stuff here lately.
There is that, of course.
My number 4 is Gran Turismo 6, and surprisingly, I'm just going to give you a little bit of a precursor to the rest of my list. Forza 5 is not on my list, even though I do own the game.
Really?
As far as gameplay, and I don't know, it is a little bit hard for me to put my finger on exactly what it is, but I have just enjoyed playing Gran Turismo 6 more than for instance playing Forza 5. Like, I like Forza a lot, and actually, you know, visually it's a gorgeous game. It's just beautiful. And but I don't know, there's something about the progression. You know, I will say they've you know, had the patch that just came out. Well, I mean, you have to pay for it on both to a certain degree, you know. But you know, there's a whole thing though that I just think the pacing was not as good in Forza as it could have been. And surprisingly, I feel like Gran Turismo 6 fixed pretty much every issue that I've ever had with the series in the last couple of iterations. Like, you know, the slow loading, you know, to get into a game, the menus that were just, you know, difficult to use and just hard to get around to. Like, all the things that were kind of bad about it, it lets you get in and just play. Like, I was telling Brent when the first week I had it, like, in the same amount of time playing like, say, Gran Turismo 5, I could finish twice as many races playing Gran Turismo 6 just because of like things like load times and the menus and getting around to different things and you know, unlocking stuff. So I don't know what it is. I just I have enjoyed playing as in terms of a racing game right now. Gran Turismo 6 has been the most fun I've had in quite a while.
Nice.
So that is my number 4. DK, what's your 4th?
My 4th is actually some DLC, and it comes in the form of Dishonored: The Knife of Dunwall. I love Dishonored. I've already told everyone. I've shouted it from the rooftops. I love that game. I love that franchise. Cannot wait to see what they do with it moving forward. Hopefully a next-gen iteration announcement is coming very soon. But the Knife of Dunwall DLC, I thought, put a nice cap on what they were doing with it. And I really enjoyed this franchise in general. So I put this in my number 4 spot because I felt like, you know, the game itself, Dishonored, came out last year, but this is something that extended the experience, and the Brigmore Witches as well and stuff. So just all the DLC in general for Dishonored, I enjoyed it. I'll take as much of it as I can get, and it's not in my top 3, but it's my 4th spot on the faves list for this year in terms of games that I really enjoyed. So there you go, Dishonored. Give me more. Give me more.
I can't really believe that Bethesda has not reached out to you for like a quote on the back of their packaging. for like,
they ought to, yeah.
I mean, really, like, I'm not. It's not a knock. I'm saying legitimately, like, yeah, because I mean, you obviously are just very, very in everything,
really like
which
Dishonored.
is awesome. I love that. No, I mean, I love that. I love what you can be that excited about something. Brent, what's your numero tres? I had to think for a second.
Took me a second. So my number 3 game for 2013 was Tomb Raider. This was a title that, you know, we've talked about. We talked about on the show. Lauren and I actually, I think our very first post-mortem episode of the X Factor was on Tomb Raider, and it was a game that we both really, really enjoyed. And the thing for Tomb Raider was looking at the media and everything prior to the game coming out. It felt like the team over at Crystal Dynamics had looked at the Uncharted series and said, "Wait a second, we can do that. We got an adventure hero. We got platforming. We got shooting. We got archaeology. We got all this." And it felt as though they looked at the Uncharted series and just said, well, "That's our fucking sandbox." Yeah. And so they decided to take it back. They just started to draw a line in their sandbox and tell Uncharted,
very bloody line.
That's right, and tell Uncharted to get the fuck out. So, what I was hoping for going into Tomb Raider was that this was going to be an open platform Uncharted, that this was going to be a version of Uncharted that everybody could enjoy no matter what system they were gaming on. And it's damn near close to it. As a matter of fact, I would say that I think that Tomb Raider equates very favorably to the first Uncharted game in the sense that they are both really, really great first efforts. They show enormous promise, and you feel the possibilities that the series has in the places it can go moving forward, but that it wasn't the perfect game, that it had room for improvement, it had things that needed to be addressed, and you feel as though if those things could get fixed, that you could go on to a sequel that would be as good as Uncharted 2 was. As as good as Uncharted 1 is, Uncharted 2 is the game that really lives up to the promise of the series. And I feel like Tomb Raider is in a position to do the exact same thing, because this first game from 2013 is great. It was a very, very fun experience, but there are things that could be fixed. I would love to see some things get addressed with the kind of the leveling up mechanics, the ability to upgrade your gear. I'd love to see the puzzles in the game become a little bit more inventive and see some more design aspects there. But just very, very few things that I would like to see tweaked. But overall, really, really enjoyable game.
Yep. Yeah, and on comparison too, you'd probably say it started off at a little bit better than, say, like Uncharted 1 from a starting platform. So the sequel could be even better.
Oh yeah, I think it's got just enormous potential.
Yeah, no, I would definitely agree. All right, well, my number 3 should probably be no surprise to anyone that I'm a huge Mario fan.
Yeah.
And the game that I've probably been putting the most... it's actually, I don't know. I've been splitting my time across quite a few things here lately. But I've been putting a ton of time into Super Mario 3D World.
Nice.
On the Wii U. The Wii U, I actually feel like really is starting to kind of come into its own at the end of this year. You finally got, a couple, more than just like 1 or 2 titles that were worth playing on the system. You actually, kind of have a, depending on what you want to play, you have a little bit of a choice now. And there's just something about a Mario game, man. It's just fun. Like when I play the game, it's not groundbreaking. It's not even the stuff they're doing that's new, like the 4-player characters. But there are a lot of things they are doing that I really like that are new, like the 3D puzzles, like where you actually have to like rotate around the world to like move Toad around to get stuff. Like, I mean, literally stuff that, just hasn't been done before, and some of the puzzles into getting the different stars, like getting to the end of the level, beating the game, not hard at all. I mean, it's a challenge, but it's fun, but it's not, something I don't think most people can get through. Now, getting all of the unlockables, all the stars, all that sort of stuff, that's where I really think the fun comes in there. And another game I'll mention later, not in my favorites list, but just a game that's been fun, is NES Remix. And it's one of these things where I think Nintendo has kind of finally found that, like, people that like their games really like the old school gameplay, just like that old school challenge. And that's what I love about the Mario 3D World, is just you can play through and beat the game, and it's fun, and you'll have a great time. But if you really want to go back and unlock everything, it just is. It's got tons and tons of stuff for you to go back and do. So very fun. And just as a heads up, Brent, you mentioned that you got 3D Land for the 3DS. Yeah. Probably one of my favorite games of all time. I actually almost think that I might like it better than 3D World on the Wii U. Just as an overall package, I love that game. So you'll have a lot of fun with it.
I can't wait.
DK, what's your number 3?
In the same spot as Brent, I've got Tomb Raider. For all the reasons that he mentioned. And again, I think, just like BioShock, when both these games came out, like, there's a lot of controversy, especially, he's just talking about different aspects of it. I agree wholeheartedly with every single thing that Brent said. The caveat for me was, like, I didn't feel that it needed to be as violent. Just like, I didn't feel that character, who we kind of knew already, needed to be reinvented in that way necessarily. But I was able to kind of look past some of that stuff and really kind of, when in retrospect, looking back on the experience, like, when I finished the game, I wanted to keep playing it. So that to me is a sign of a really good game, and I'm looking forward to a sequel. I hope that they do dial it back and put more emphasis on the exploratory nature of the story, or like the adventure adventure elements and maybe more of a balance. It felt very skewed towards, you had tombs and you had things you did, but I mean, there was a deep emphasis on the action and the violent nature of that action. Whereas I hope that they could kind of find a way to maybe tone that back a little more and make it a little bit more wondrous in the exploration. But I totally agree. One of the more memorable experiences this year, and I really think it's fantastic. It's number 3 on my faves list of top 10 favorite games of 2013.
Yeah, that's a good call. And I've played the game. It's not on my top 5, but I loved it, and I had the exact same things I liked about it as you two. But the puzzles, like both of you said, that is where I really feel like the series can grow. Like I feel like it can be like the old school Tomb Raider with all the great things that we have in a new next gen title. Yeah. But that old school puzzle gameplay, I think, is what they're missing and what they probably need this next time around.
Yep, I agree.
Brent, what's number 2? We're getting
up on the
close
last
to the end
2
here.
here.
Number 2, man. Yeah, so number 2 for 2013 was Batman Arkham Origins.
Ooh.
No surprise. I'm a huge fan of the Batman Arkham series. Batman Arkham City.
And cities. You like cities. You
in general, I do. I visit them often.
And Origins.
And
I think that actually I probably need to update my top 25 games of all time on faves list to put Batman Arkham City in there somewhere.
Nice.
But Batman Arkham City was such a great game, and the fact that this was not going to be coming from Rocksteady, the fact that it was a new studio, and they were playing with the timeline, it was going to be kind of a prequel ultimately, to the other 2 games. It was going to be set well ahead of them, and there were a lot of concerns about whether the game would live up to the pedigree of the prior 2. And I can say that playing it on PC was really an agonizing experience because there were so many technical glitches, so many problems. There were game-breaking bugs on the PC that I experienced, and they made for a very frustrating play experience. But despite all those things,
no patch can improve your gameplay.
That's right. There's no DLC for suck. But despite all those things, this is my number 2 pick of the year because it was fantastic. I dare say I think I like the story in this game better than Arkham City. I love the threads and the connections that they're putting into this game and the idea of where those things will end up. I love the collectible aspect of these games. That's always been something I've loved. I love just the opportunities that exist to collect things and explore the environment, and this game has got a shitload of them. And I think that they were able to make use of some great Batman villains and a couple of the lesser known people from Batman's Rogues Gallery. There was this really fascinating kind of confluence of the Arkham mythology, which I think is a lot closer to the comic mythology, and even brought in elements of kind of the Nolan-verse into it. So it was like this great mix of a lot of different things about Batman that I like, and it was a fantastic game. There were definitely problems that I have with it. I do feel like the fighting mechanics were not quite as finely tuned as they were in Arkham City. There were issues with the grapple. There was these game-breaking bugs like I discussed, but looking past those things, I still had a fantastic time playing, and none of those things prevented me from spending 90 hours with the game, or however much time it was. But I mean, I've just invested loads and loads and loads of time in this game, and I loved every minute of it. It was a fantastic title, and I think now that they've got all that stuff fixed, there's no reason for anybody else not to go play it too.
Interesting.
Yeah, very cool. I have not played it, but I'm kind of hoping to maybe pick it up when there's a lot of Steam sales going on, things like that.
I've heard about those.
Time to pick it up. All right. Well, so my number 2 is going to a game that I've been putting a lot of time into here lately, and it's kind of interesting. I picked up Dragon's Crown, which is Vanillaware title. I picked it up because of the artwork, and unusually there was a game there that I really liked. No, really? In all seriousness, I really did. I loved the visual style. I love hand drawn 2D graphics, things like that. And I was actually watching a review on Happy Console Gamer, was doing his kind of Dragon's Crown rocks, basically him just saying how much he enjoyed it, because he really loved he's a big D&D fan, and he really loved the old school Capcom arcade, like Shadows of Mysteria, and the side scrolling Dungeons and Dragons games, and he's right, because I love those games as well. And this is basically that game, like that old school kind of gameplay that you like, but just with all of the great new things that we can do now. You know, the high resolution graphics, all the kind of additional unlockables. Like, you just have tons and tons of stuff that you pick up over time that you can get, you know, new NPCs to follow you. You can get new weapons to play with. But one caveat that I would like to say is my number 2 goes to the PlayStation Vita version of this game. I actually own it on the Vita and on the PS3, and even though the PS3 one looks gorgeous, you know, it looks great on screen. You basically, when you're going throughout the level, you can either take the right analog stick or on the PS3, or your finger on the Vita screen, and when you touch the screen, you'll see these little sparkles just kind of in the background. And when you're moving through a level, you know, a lot of times you miss them, but if you just kind of go over the screen, it'll drop down like gold and coins and things like that you can pick up. And it is so much easier, in my opinion, to play using the Vita, because like basically you can be walking, you know, with the analog on your right hand, and then your right, or with your left hand, your right finger kind of going over the screen to hit all the stuff on there. And I know it sounds silly, it's a small little thing, but it has made it infinitely more fun to play on the Vita. Plus, on the OLED screen, it's probably seriously one of the best looking games I've ever played. So so anyway, that's my number 2, Dragon's Crown. If you haven't tried it, definitely go pick it up.
Awesome.
DK, what about yourself?
In the number 2 spot for me, year 2013 is going to be The Legend of Zelda: A Link Between Worlds. You know, this game just made me feel like a kid and just really enjoy a video game. Like, there's so much expectation, especially with a game like this. Like, you know, the obviously you know, the previous Legend of Zelda games, all of them, but also Link to the Past was like one of the best ones ever. And so when you have A Link Between Worlds come out, like, you know, kind of, you know, gauge what it can do, and it comes out on this new platform. Are they going to push 3D too much? What's going to happen? Bottom line is, this game is just fun, and it's everything that Zelda fans love and want, and it introduces the new kind of mechanic of exploring where you want, when you want, for the most part. And I think when I look back on this year, a very memorable experience for me was had with A Link Between Worlds, and the reason I picked up a 3DS finally, and think is worth every single penny. But if you're a Zelda fan,
you can't even get your hands on it anymore, right? Like,
I know my kids keep playing it. But if you're a Zelda fan at all, or just, you know, the design of this game is so rewarding. It never challenges you to the point where you feel like super frustrated, and everything that happens in the design of the game just it moves at such a good pace, and makes you feel. There's so many moments I played this where I just smiled, and I think that you know, was a game, is a testament of a great game. And for me, A Link Between Worlds definitely is something memorable from this year. So that's my number 2 spot for sure.
Great thing. And one little follow-up, too. I love the fact that it does not hold your hand as much as some Nintendo titles have been doing lately, where they like, oh, you missed it one time. Here, let me help you out. Like, it's they give you time, and I love that. Yeah. Mm-hmm. All right. Well, we are in the final. If you're still listening, it's like been 2 hours now. We're down to these are our number 1 games. These are what we kind of thought were our favorite games of 2013. Brent, start us off. Your number 1 game. What is it?
Number 1 game of this year has got to be The Last of Us. You know, this title from Naughty Dog is it is a really, really interesting end cap on, I think, both this generation of gaming, the 7th console generation. I think it's an interesting sort of bookend for Naughty Dog in the 7th console generation, and it's a really, really kind of fascinating game to close the year on, because for me, my 7th console generation started with Uncharted. That was the first game I played on my PlayStation 3. And if you look at the games that have come out in the last 7 years or so, it's very easy to see the influence of Uncharted in our industry. It's a game that has really, really refined and redefined a particular genre of adventure gaming and cinematic storytelling in gaming, and it's set, you know, this incredibly high bar for fun and for, you know, quality of writing and voice acting and so on and so forth. And it was fascinating to see Naughty Dog take everything that they had learned in the Uncharted series, everything that they had been perfecting in the Uncharted series, and apply it to an entirely new property with a very different tone and a very different goal in terms of the drama and storytelling involved. And I just loved it. I love everything that they did with The Last of Us. I love everything that the game represents. I love the difficult morality and ethical drama that the game presents. It's it's really rewarding to play, and the human elements of the game, the human drama, the kind of the fundamental truths about relationships, and how our humanity itself is challenged by these dire circumstances that are presented in the world. That drama is so compelling and so good. And on top of all of that, there's a fantastic video game with great mechanics and moments that are poignant, moments that are fun, moments that are really terrifying and anxiety inducing. So it's just a tour de force. I mean, it really is. For me, it's a fantastic way to kind of close the book on the 7th console generation, and to look at the progress from where both Naughty Dog and video games as a whole, to look at where the industry was when Uncharted came out, and to look at where things are now with The Last of Us, I think is an excellent analog for just how amazing the 7th console generation has been, and The Last of Us is really emblematic of what video games can be at their best.
It's awesome.
Very good choice. Absolutely.
You've been infected.
Indeed I have, sir. With awesome.
Infected with awesome. That's what she said.
We're just going to let that lie. We're just not going to.
What about you, TG? What's your number one?
All right, so number one, my number one choice goes to Resogun, which is the Defender-like shooter. I guess it's very similar to a lot of different games. And you may say, like, hey, this is just a shooter. It's a very simple game, or not simple game, but it's a very kind of straightforward game. Would you really think this is your game of the year? Honestly, I do, and let me explain why. The reason is because, one,
you don't need to explain why. You can just say it's Resogun.
It's Resogun. It is just so much fun to play. Like I really this takes me back to like playing like Geometry Wars 2 and playing Superstars HD, like some of the more recent games, and even back to old school shooters. It's just a lot of fun to play, and it's really deep. Like, you can play it lots of different ways. You can play it for high score. You can play it for saving all the humans, all the different things that they have in there. You can kind of go about it different ways. And the reason I guess that I really like it for Game of the Year is because I like the fact that, one, it was a launch title on a brand new console with next to no issues. I can't think of anyone that has had any problems with it. It had no.
That's a good point, actually.
It had no like game crashing bugs. It had no DLC that was totally screwed up and just took away from the game. Yeah. You get the game, you play the game, you enjoy the game. Yeah. And then the other thing is the fact that the game this is a game that, in my opinion, is one of the most fun things to play. Like, if I want to sit down right now and just play something fun for 5, 10, 15, 20, 30 minutes, that's a great game to do it in. And it's $15. Or if you have PlayStation Plus, it's free.
100%
a brand new
free.
Game on a brand new platform that is, frankly, I think, one of the graphical tour de forces of the system already.
Oh yeah.
And just in what it looks like, what it can do.
Yeah.
And it's for a huge amount of people out there, free. I just think that's such a great thing, and I love the fact that it's old school gameplay, and frankly, it's kind of old school salesmanship in a way. You get the game, you play it, and that's that's it. There's possibly going to be DLC and things for it down the road, but like, I don't feel like at this point, I don't feel like anything was left out that I'm going to be sold later. Like, whatever I feel like comes later, I'm going to be like, oh, hey, cool, a new reason to go back and play it. Whereas a lot of games these days, I just always feel like, oh, I already know they're working on this to come down the road. So there's so many reasons why I really like this game for Game of the Year. But like Brent kind of said, and he is right, if you haven't played it, just play it. It's awesome. If you got a PS4, can't believe that you haven't already, because it's free for most of you. Great game. Definitely check it out.
Good choice.
I agree.
All right. So DK, take us through. Last up, what's your game of the year?
My game of the year, I am a guy who is just fascinated with possibility. If there's one thing in this world that I love, it's potential. I love to see the potential in products, in people, in everything. It's what drives me to do everything. And one of the things that I love about gaming is the potential of interactive entertainment as a medium, because it is so different than any other medium, from literature to film to television, music, whatever. Interactive entertainment provides the opportunity for an experience that you just cannot have anywhere else. And this year, Brothers: A Tale of Two Sons, a game I've talked about quite a bit, really encapsulated what that experience is all about and what possibility of this medium is about. And it's really hard to talk about this game unless you've beaten it. And it's been out long enough now that I feel like I can still not spoil the ending for you. But what I will say is that this is a short game. For some of the reasons you're talking about with Resogun, it's an encapsulated experience. It's like fully contained. It's one of the reasons I love it. I didn't like play through the game and then want more DLC or expect that they were going to nickel and dime me. This game was created for the sole purpose of setting up its ending. And its ending is so profound that it's one of those things that can't happen in any other mediums. So without the specifics, the thing that I love about Brothers, and when I think back on 2013, is that it challenges you with this kind of control scheme. And it introduces this very imaginative type of world that allows you. I think imagination is something that is lost a little bit on our medium now, because everything is so spelled out for you. But the language of the characters, some of their backstory, some of the other things allows you as an individual to be creative and kind of like, kind of interject what you think might have done in some realms of the game. But then really the truth of the game is that it's all a setup, and you realize when you hit that moment, it's all about this moment in the game. And when you get to the moment and you realize what it is, it just really does. It did something to me that will forever kind of be a definable moment. It'll be something that, like, this whole game was a setup for that thing, which was so great that it will no doubt be replicated. Maybe replicated in smaller bits, maybe moments within a larger game, or maybe different sequences. But when I come across those moments in the future, I will look back and say, oh, they put a Brothers moment into this game. That's what this game did for me, and I think a lot of other people as well. Again, I wish I could talk about it without saying about, so you understand exactly why, but just play the game, and maybe later on we'll talk about it more. But I really would want people who, I feel there's enough people who haven't played this game that I don't want to spoil it. So just play it is all I have to say. It's an inexpensive game. It's not very long, and it's totally worth it. So when I look back on 2013, at the top of my faves list for sure is Brothers: A Tale of Two Sons. I love it. And I think, the fact too that I have two sons who almost exactly look like the characters in terms of like their relation to one another. But just, it's just such a great game. I loved it. I loved every second of it, and really felt connected to it. So there you go. Brothers: A Tale of Two Sons.
Good call. You know what? You may have won me over. I guess I'm gonna have to give it a shot. I've given you a little bit of a hard time.
Oh, come on! Don't give in now.
Well, no. I'll be honest with you. Like, after hearing him talk about it now, I kind of maybe I see the emotional connection that I was missing before. And actually, it looks like it's gonna be free for PlayStation Plus next month.
Yes.
It's like $5 on Xbox Live right now, and I think Steam has it on sale too. So I mean, I said it. I think I said it last skirmish that there's just some great deals going on right now, but there's no good excuse not to play some of these great games.
Totally.
You're correct about that.
Totally. And I think it is kind of ironic and funny too that like a lot of our games are like either DLC or easily approachable games,
or
inexpensive. Yeah. It says a lot about our medium because things are coming out a different way. We're not all looking at the $60 blockbuster titles and just stacking them up and saying which of these do we like the best.
Well, how many people said last year that, like, Walking Dead, frankly, against all the AAA titles that a lot of people were pushing last year.
Yeah.
That it won a lot of Game of the Year awards last year, and I think this year it's just even more so. There's just even more choice, and the quality's just gotten even better.
Totally. We were going to actually talk about our most anticipated games as well, but I think we'll just direct everyone over to Faves List to check out Brent, Tony, and when you get over there, search for us. Just search our names in the toolbar and add us as friends. Is that okay with you guys?
Yeah,
that everyone has us as friends.
So I mean, I'm not going to accept it, but yeah, you can do. Go ahead.
Add us as friends, and then check out our Faves List for most anticipated games as well, and then get in there and do your own, because we're really looking forward to seeing the comparisons, the contrast, and the context of all those games, how they stack up one to another. But
hey, and just another thing too, like the thing that's great about Faves List is it's not just it's not just video games. It's everything. So I mean, like if you have your favorite sports team, if you have your favorite movie, your favorite TV series, like all that stuff is there. It's a great place to really.
I think people would be really interested to learn like your guys' favorite. I think we could all pretty much assume Top Gear is going to be in your favorite TV shows.
Yep.
Oh, absolutely. Well, UK Top Gear.
UK Top Gear.
Wait, hold on now. You're saying like UK Top Gear. As if
there's a rumor that there's some other version out there,
but I mean it's just Top Gear, right?
Well, there's an Australian Top Gear.
I don't really believe in that either, though. I mean,
no, but that's a great point, and I will say both of us, Brent and I, we've added a few things on there. We're probably going to add more and more stuff here in the coming weeks just to get back up to date, because this came from another site that once I was working on. We kind of need to move some of our favorites over to the new site. So.
True enough, player.
All right, guys. Well, we are coming up near the end of this week's Skirmish and the end of the year. So these are our last battle cries of 2013. And something I mentioned a little bit earlier, my battle cry for the end of the year is out to a little game that not a soul knew about a little over a week ago.
Yeah, like a week ago.
And that is NES Remix. It was
yeah. I know what you're talking about.
I actually meant to talk about this on the last time, and it literally was like coming out, I think, like the day we recorded, and so I didn't get a chance to. But this was awesome. This is one of those things, we've talked about this a bunch of times. This was where we had not heard anything about this game, and they do a Nintendo Direct in the morning. They announce the game, and it's available that day.
Yeah.
And
awesome.
it's nothing huge, but it's the kind of game that I love. It's basically remixed. Like if anybody's ever watched Game Center CX, like if you ever watched Areno, the Cacho, playing like these old school games, trying to to beat them, to get to the end, to show you the end. And sometimes they have like a little trying to do like a certain thing within the game, like a certain meet a certain set of criteria. That's what this game is. It's just like these really little, like sometimes within like 5 or 10 seconds, sometimes within like 2 minutes, you got to do something. So it literally ranges from, in some cases, it's drop the fruit on an enemy's head in Donkey Kong Jr. Like Donkey Kong Jr., not Donkey Kong Country. We're talking like old NES games like Super Mario Brothers, Legend of Zelda, the originals. But they get more and more harder and harder, and you have to do more and more. And it's really it comes down to like the time you beat it in the amount of time that you have. And the thing I will say that I love about it is it has been the first time that I've actually liked and used the Miiverse on the Wii U.
Oh,
like
good.
Basically, you like I can't tell you. There have been a couple times I'm going for all rainbow, which is basically like don't draw any conclusions there. Whenever you can get like you get 1, 2, 3 stars, and then if you get like below a certain time, you get 3 stars like rainbow colored, like so you're kind of the elite or whatever you want to do. So that's my goal. So I will not pass a level until I've got that on that particular level. Yeah. And so it does take a little bit longer, but it's just, to me, it's more fun. And I'm gonna shut up real quick. But the last thing I was gonna say is the Miiverse thing. It's awesome when you finish a level. You do have to finish it first. So like you finish it and say you get 3 stars, but you don't get that super elite time. Well, the Miiverse over on the side will have people, sometimes it'll show their score and their time, and they'll say like, man, I'm having a hard time with this. And then it'll show some, it'll kind of flip through them. And sometimes it'll say like, hey, I beat it, and this is how I did it. So it's like,
cool.
It's this cool, like, and most people don't just tell you flat out what to do. They just give you a tip, like, hey, don't forget to use this, or right. Something like that. And it's just a very, very cool, like, little message board that helps you get through the game. But it's the first time I've actually found to be useful on the Wii U. But anyway, very, very cool game. It's $15. I do feel like it's probably about $5 too expensive. But to be brutally honest, I've gotten definitely $15 worth out of it. So I guess maybe I'm full of shit.
Or just a cheapskate.
Yeah, I am probably just a cheapskate. DK, what's your battle cry this week?
Well, my end of the year battle cry also goes out to Nintendo because I've suddenly realized that they've done a very good job, much more than we've given them credit for throughout this year, and looking forward into next year. This kind of mentioned this on the show before, but Christmas in this household was very Nintendo-y. The kids got a 2DS. There's lots of Pokemon action going on, lots of Mario and Luigi type of stuff. And then, we're about to get a Wii U as well. When their aunt comes into town, we're going to go get the Zelda Wii U and enjoy that for a couple of days and stuff. So I just started kind of realizing that, all this next-gen craziness that we've spent all the last several months talking about, even most of the year with the PS4 and Xbox One, not really taking anything away from them, but really kind of going back and giving props to Nintendo, because when the rubber hits the road here, we're entering, January 2014, and the consoles probably being played the most in my household are Nintendo. So I just want to give them props for that. Of course, that'll change over time as the next gen consoles actually get more software and more of my personally highly anticipated games are coming out on those platforms. But I no longer think of kind of what Nintendo's been doing with the Wii U as an afterthought. The 3DS has always been viable, and the more games that have come out for it make it even more so. So props to them for putting a Minish cap on a great year, and then actually looking forward to rocking 2014 as well. I'm really excited about Smash Brothers, about the new Zelda game, about the upcoming Mario Kart. So I'm excited about Nintendo stuff again, and it makes me feel good. So props to them.
Very cool. Very cool. Brent, how about yourself? What's your battle cry this year?
My battle cry this year, for the last time.
For the last time.
My battle cry is going to go out to Hello Games, and of course, as you all know, they had a rather nasty holiday surprise at Hello Games. Their studios got flooded, and this was a huge source of worry for me, because coming out of the VGX show, probably the thing that I was most excited about was No Man's Sky, and the fact that this small independent studio got totally flooded by some torrential downpour was a little bit concerning, for the future of the game, and just what was going to happen. So anyway, there's been some updates on that story, and unfortunately, it doesn't look like their insurance is going to cover them, because apparently somewhere in the fine print it says that if you live in a flood risk zone, you're not insured for flooding. And I guess that they were in a flood risk zone.
Don't you love insurance, by the way?
No, I'm really
insurance is.
I'm not a big fan of it, actually. No. Right. But in any case, that's not awesome. But what is kind of interesting is that somebody on Twitter tweeted at Phil Spencer from Microsoft Game Studios, and basically just asking if he could spread some cheer or something like that to Hello Games. And Spencer responded by saying that he was, quote, going to look into it. Now, I don't know what that might entail, but it would really be great to see some people step up and maybe help out Hello Games in this situation, because they could certainly use it. I don't know, like I'm almost prepared to start some sort of fundraising Kickstarter or something to help them out. But I really want to see No Man's Sky come to fruition, and this is just a terrible disaster that's befallen this small indie company. So anyway, I hope nothing but the best for Hello Games. I hope that they're able to get back on their feet and get just get their lives and their infrastructure, their company back in place, and pick up and keep moving forward. And if Phil Spencer ends up helping them out, so much the better.
Absolutely. Yep. I have no idea. These guys are very passionate. It's just how does this put them back, I guess, is the problem. And I love the idea that people are willing to reach out. And I frankly think what you were saying, maybe things like Kickstarter are great for things like this as well. Maybe that's worth looking into. Yeah. So best of luck.
Maybe they could have a flood of different kind. Some cash flows.
Cash flood.
Cash flood.
Cash flood's a good name for a band.
I have a feeling they'd never want to hear the word flood again if I were just to
probably
guess.
Yeah.
But some words I would like to hear is our member battle cry. DK.
Nice segue.
Do you have our...
Hop on the segue. We're going with TG into the member battle cry, which comes from Miguel Ramos, who has this to say.
Quick. I don't think you can have more than one person on segue. So...
Clearly, you're doing it wrong.
But anyway, it's in regards to our conversation pertaining to Rainbow Six on the latest episode of EBC prior to this one, which was undoubtedly at least half the length. It goes like this. Hi, guys. Good show. As far as the Rainbow Six Patriots being remade, I'm quite pleased with it. Not that it's a good thing that they aren't getting it right, but it's good to see a company taking its time to make a good game. For me, there's a bit of confusion when talking about first-person shooters. Call of Duty and Battlefield are modern-day military shooters. They have their differences, but if you just took a screenshot, they pretty much look the same. They're also mainly online multiplayer games. Games like Rainbow Six series, Far Cry 3, BioShock, Half-Life series, Borderlands, all have distinctive characters, in tone, visually, gameplay-wise, story, and so on, and they're all mainly single-player or cooperative experiences. You have to decide, first of all, what kind of game you're pushing for, because the multiplayer-focused game has nothing to do with the single-player or co-op experience. If you make a game in the COD format, you must be multiplayer and you must sell a lot to keep the community going. Because if you go for the type of experience in a single player environment, you end up with a crappy game. So I think we should just stop saying FPS, but understand what kind of focus that first person shooter has to be able to compare it to the right games. So I think a good, there's sub-genres within the genre of first-person shooters, and I think that, seeing the story-driven FPS games, the character-driven or cooperative-driven ones like Borderlands, he's right in that there's a lot of variance within that one genre. It's not easy to just say, oh, this is a first-person shooter, so let's compare Rainbow Six to Call of Duty to Borderlands to this, that, and the other thing. There's a lot of nuance, but also a lot of, kind of definitive differences that make each one of these stand out. So very good battle cry.
And a great call out about the fact that, and I think we all kind of said sort of similar things, that it is good to see a company not willing to go forward with a project that's not good enough.
Yes.
Basically like once they see that, hey, you know what, this isn't as good as it should be, we're going to retool. That's not a bad thing. And I'm glad more people feel that same way, like Miguel. Like I think that's the right way to be about it. Is let's get the best thing that let's get the games we deserve, not just what they're willing to troll out.
There you go.
Agree.
All right, well, guys, that is going to do it for this year's collection of skirmishes.
Wow.
Another year in the books, guys. Congratulations, EBC, and thank you to all of our community on EpicBattleAxe.com and all the listeners of Epic Battle Cry. We wouldn't be doing this show, obviously, as much as we seem like we like to talk. We wouldn't be doing this show if
no
it wasn't
one will listen
for
to us, so we do this here. This is
our fantastic community. So thank you guys for an excellent, excellent year, and we're looking forward to another one here talking about all the big things on the horizon for gaming.
Definitely.
Hear, hear.
Well, that is going to do it for this week's Skirmish. I'd like to thank everyone for joining us this week, and please join us again next year when we will once again be cleaving the fat from this gaming stories of the day. For Brent Adams and Daniel Kaiser, I'm your host, Tony Grice, and remember, cry havoc, and...
Seriously, if we put a Kickstarter for the Colorado Gaming Convention, high score.
I think it's a great idea.
I do think that's actually...
You got to spell it some funky way, though.
No, just high score.
No, but you can't trademark it if it's like a common word, is my point.
Okay, so yeah, we could do that, but then like each like gaming station could have like,
a hookah.
How about we just order some pizza?
How about